Alright, in this video we'll take a look at the Unity editor itself and see some of the layout and the windows and basic capabilities of manipulating a scene. First, when you download the Unity IDE, the free version from unity3d.com, you'll get a folder structure something like this in your computer somewhere. I put a shortcut on my desktop here. There's a link to the documentation, which is offline. It's a copy of what you can find on unity3d.com. You'll have the mono-develop code editing tool and the Unity tool itself, which is what we're going to jump into now. When we open up a new project, the project wizard allows us to open up a past project that we've already created or create a new project, which is what I'll do here. I'll create on the desktop a test project 1. You can import some existing packages, but for this simple project we don't need any. Packages can include assets, coding, and other such controls, and editor windows, lots of different things. But for a basic project we can start with nothing. We always can add them later. So let's let that start up. Alright, first thing I'd like to take a look at is up here in the layouts. So I'm able to look at the Unity IDE itself with several different layouts. A layout is a combination of what windows are shown and where are they located on the screen. We might need a 4-split view to see deeper into the 3D scene itself. We might need a tall view because we're editing one specific thing very closely. There's infinite varieties. You're able to create your own layouts here as well. So let's start just by using the default, which will be an option that you have and probably the first one you're seeing as well. So to take a look at our scene, we're going to first, in the hierarchy, create a cube and then drag the red handle, just left mouse and drag the left handle, then create a sphere. When an object is created, it's created at the position 0, 0, and 0 in the world. Then as we manipulate those values, you can see we're now at a position near 0, 0, 0, but a bit off. So using these couple items to help us illustrate sample objects in the scene, let's talk about each of these panels. So the first panel, or window, is the hierarchy. The hierarchy gives you a simple list in alphabetical order of all of the game objects in your scene. The scene view is the 3D representation of them. A cube looks like a cube, a sphere looks like a sphere. We're able to move them by dragging handles as we just saw. The game window represents the final rendered graphics. We don't have a light added to this scene, so there is light, but it's dim. That's why our objects look gray. We'll talk about adding a light to a scene and getting better looking graphics in a future video. The inspector window shows us the values on the game object we have selected. So if using the scene view, I select the cube or the sphere, or within the hierarchy window, I select the cube or the sphere, you can see that the inspector window updates. Every game object has a transform, which is its position, its rotation, and its scale, as you see those first 9 boxes there reflect. Then each game object may differ on what happens next. If it's a sphere, we see we've got some mesh related things to the actual geometry, and a collider, which is used for a couple different things, but including physics. Then, if the hierarchy is a list of the things that are in the scene, what then is the project window down at the bottom? Well, project is any reusable assets that are in the current scene, in another scene that's not currently open, or things that aren't in any scene. It's everything that we might want to reuse within our project. So let's take a look at what we can do there. We can create a material. And we could give it a name, but I'll leave it as material there. And with that selected in the inspector, I will give it a color of red. We could also choose a image that I've imported, but I don't have any images imported yet, so just simply choosing a color of red is good for now. I can drag that into the scene view, and then I'll go back and look at that sphere. So what we see is that in the inspector window, we see a material has been added. It's called new material, just like the name in our project window, and it has some properties that are set there about tiling, offset, etc. The importance here to realize between the assets in a project window and the game objects that are in the world is that there's some sort of a connection there. Right? We see that our sphere that's in the hierarchy, it's using the material that's in the project window. So we'll talk more about that instancing and reuse of assets and game objects and how they connect to it in future video. The only other window that we haven't talked about, it's hiding back here, is the console window. And that currently is empty, but when we begin to code, we'll see some of the results of our coding and some of the possible warnings and errors that pop up as we're learning to code will all be there. At the top window, File allows us to save the project, which is everything that we see here. We'll be able to save a scene, which is a copy saved of what we see just in the scene view, just the sphere and the cube. We're able to build our project through there as well. The Edit menu, Assets menu, Game Object, Component, and Terrain all help us populate our project window and our hierarchy and scene with the many objects, assets, and other files that we're going to use in our projects. Window is a shortcut to each of the major areas of the screen we've talked about, including some that we haven't talked about yet. And that's it for our first video on the IDE itself. Thank you.